Hi, welcome to this week's edition of Blues Talk. We're again John, Dave and myself. We're going to look back over Leinster's good victory on the road over in Cardiff and look forward to the Champions Cup matches at the weekend. So boys, we got our win, we got our bonus point, got our 4 tries, but we were still pretty poor performance.
I don't know about poor performance. I think that's a little overstating it. It wasn't vintage, but like, you know, we're getting all the bodies back on the park in the backs, so they can't just come running out in their first game and be handling the ball. You know, they can't play together for the first time in ages and be just turn on the handling tap. You know, it takes a few games, so I'd be reasonably happy with that progress from the Ulster match. Yes, I'm putting the other kind of a slant on it and, you know, saying that, excusing them perhaps for some of their there's a big gap between their first try and 1 minute and their second try and 55 minutes.
Particularly when they had a guy with a red card and a yellow card.
I think I mean, there's elements of both sides to be taken in and put into it, and both are accurate. I mean, there was, for example, for the first time in a long time, I think it was fairly. You could actually see what Leinster are trying to do in attack. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You can see the way they're trying to play. On the other hand, that was let down by a lot of poor handling from a wide variety of suspects. I mean,
I've got the excuses in for that.
You could have a lineup, and I'm saying, I mean, that was there's positives and negatives there, and that's one of them. I mean, some parts of the game plan seem to be working well. The scrum went very well. No matter who was on, even the much maligned by me, Jamie Hagan came on at loose head, and
they were missing a second row.
Yeah, I still think that I've had such a low opinion of Jamie Hagan in the past. I mean, in fairness, for him to hold it, even to lock that out, is as far as I'm concerned, a positive. And of course, Tadhg Furlong is just getting better and better every week. You know, and there are things you can see. There's still things that are annoying about it. I mean, the game plan, I think, is based on individuals taking on their opposite number in a one-on-one situation, and the game plan is based around the Leinster player being able to get over, pull something out of the bag on a one-to-one basis. The problem is if the players are doing stupid things, then you find yourself in trouble, and that happened on a couple of occasions. Again, a wide variety of suspects did silly things at the wrong time.
But surely the idea is to try and create mismatches, backs on forwards and all that kind of stuff, and try and pull a whole lot of forwards one way or a whole lot of backs the other way. Or
I would agree with you.
Create a bit of a hole somewhere.
I agree with you, but I think that the Leinster game plan, certainly as far as the backline is concerned, seems to be based around the fact that the coach seems to regard the players we have as been talented in one-to-one certain situations, and he wants to put them into one-to-one situations, and then they can triumph. I think that's what it looks like to me.
I don't know whether you heard the interview with O'Driscoll on Off the Ball last Friday night, did you?
No, I was
very interesting.
In agony.
Very interesting.
Dental agony.
What he said was, that, look, he said, we had loads of moves last year. He said, with the exception of Leo Cullen coming in, but he said in the backs we had loads of moves. He said, I presume they're still there, but they don't seem to be going into that playbook and using them whatsoever. So, you know, he's seeing it.
Yeah.
And he's obviously sort of a bit too close probably to be that hypercritical, but he's certainly passing comment on it. That the team, you know, he kind of said that, look, there was a playbook there, but, you know, it was a step up in performance, the Ulster match, but it hasn't been working up to that point in time. It worked a little bit better against, but we're making a few line breaks, we're making a few offloads, but not enough. Not on a consistent basis.
We haven't had the amount of backs we've had missing. Ian Madigan had to play 12 or had to play 15 for a huge part of the season just because there wasn't an option. You know, the team nearly picked itself every week with Fergus McFadden out, Luke Fitzgerald out, Dave Carney out. You know, all these guys who are, you know, Irish internationals. Like, you put them all on the field together, and all of a sudden,
I think we're seeing all those guys
coming back.
And I think, with the exception of the Munster match, since the Connacht game, we're seeing a game-on-game improvement. I mean, a lot of people were worried about Ben Teo being signed because he was a Bosch merchant. The thing that stood out from his performance, I think, against Cardiff, although he did Bosch once or twice, it was his footwork. He showed some really, really deft footwork to get himself, so he didn't even have to. And then when he had to, he was able to put the charge in. But I mean,
his offloads as well.
His footwork and his offloads were the things that impressed me most about it. I mean, so maybe he hasn't been signed as a Bosch merchant. Maybe he's been signed as a, you know, they signed that kind of that Sonny Bill Williams, Sam Burgess style player because of the footwork and the offloads and their physical power. So, but I was impressed with him. I mean, there were elements that were impressive, there were elements that weren't impressive, often from the same player. But I think it was a progression. We have to remember. I mean, we got a bonus point away from home.
Yeah. That's exactly it.
Yeah.
And also you have to remember about the card. As we saw in Ravenhill with Ulster, getting a red card can sometimes galvanise a team. And look at that game with Saracens.
Actually, we can probably look at the red card if you want to have a quick go.
I mean, and the thing about it was, it was definitely a red card. I mean, there was no two ways about it.
If you compare it, for example, to Rob Kearney in up the north last season, where he tackled Paddy Jackson on the line, which I think he got a yellow card from memory, and people were saying he should have got a red. Well, it was a lot less serious than that. I mean, the guy was moving at pace. It was a complete clothesline. Okay, it didn't look like he was out to kill him or anything, but it was definitely a clothesline, and because of the speed he was travelling at, it caught him fairly seriously, and red instantly. I said red.
Yeah, the moment you saw, actually the angle that the ref wanted to see it from, which was a good one, was the one from behind, because he wanted to make sure that Kearney hadn't either slipped into it or was trying to step, and he wasn't.
He was fully upright. Yeah.
I mean, I hate Patterson. I think he's a dreadful referee. I just think he's absolutely dreadful. But he got two big calls. He got one and a half of them right. We'll say 1.75% of them, 1.75 of them right.
Yeah, well, that's for me is a red card.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a red card.
There's not many red cards given out for high tackles, So, but that's a fairly clear cut.
I haven't seen one as bad as that all season. That is the worst high tackle. I mean, and it wasn't. There was no maliciousness. I don't think there was any. I'd say we'd agree there was no malicious intent. But that's the worst high tackle I've seen all season.
Mm-hmm. So yes, we can put that one to bed. But it possibly did galvanise. And when you think about, like, they've a Lions front row out there. Okay, the Lions captain went off injured, but the guy who replaced him actually balanced out the back row quite nicely. Yeah, because previously did kind of 2 7s and a 6 and a half.
Ironically, we were talking about or I was talking about Teo not solely being a Bosch merchant. He proper Boshed Sam Warburton.
He did, yeah. I think he hit him with the ball, actually.
Yeah, he did, yeah.
That's a rugby league tactic, though.
It is, yeah. Use the ball as a battering ram.
It's something I noticed Teo doing a few times, is leading with the forearm, which is the habit he'll have to get out of. It's a real rugby league.
It's a very rugby league one. The thing in Union, if you keep it below the line of the shoulders, you'll get away with it, but you're taking your life.
Does it as well for Ulster.
You're taking your life in your hands, kind of thing, because it's down to referee's interpretation. Patterson, I tell you now, if you judging both the incidents in the match, when we take a look at the second one, we'll take a look at the yellow card. If you're told one was a red card and one was a yellow card, you'd actually reverse them.
I would.
Yeah. Now, I think they were both red cards.
Yeah. But it's hard to give a second red card. You need a serious amount of bottle.
I think this was a worse one, because this was a dirty play. Yeah, the other one was more an accident.
Yeah. The other one was just a bad
technique or badly executed.
This was malicious.
Yes,
I think this was malicious.
And I think this one would deserve a red more. Yeah. I'd be more inclined to give a yellow for the other one.
Yeah. Well, I think they were both two reds. But if you were told that one was a red and one was a yellow, you would have actually said they were the other way around. I mean, again, Patterson I don't like him as a ref, and you see, this is why I don't like him, because I think he's overly pernickety. He's very, very doctrinaire, very, very doctrinaire about the game. But that's why he looked at this.
Even his attitude of this, I couldn't see that. I can't run 65 metres to watch the big screen. Whereas if it was Nigel Owens, he'd be. I mean, you know what I mean? Yeah. I've seen him on the mobile phone.
Yeah, he does what needs doing.
He does what needs doing, exactly.
Yeah. He did him a fair dunt as well. It wasn't. He wasn't. I mean, combing his hair
It always looks bad in slow mo, as they say.
Yeah.
The thing is, that looks bad at normal speed.
And he was a bit too high for his kidneys, but he could have broken a rib, or he could have, lucky enough that Teo came out of it without any. He's a tough lad.
I mean, that's one I would have actually given a straight red for that, and I wouldn't have had to think about it twice myself. Now,
didn't look as dramatic though from a distance.
No, probably not. No.
However,
but that's the thing. I mean, that's 47 minutes into the match.
Yeah.
And but ironically enough, once we went down to 13, we kind of opened our legs and showed our class, as it were. Started scoring,
but not initially.
Not initially, no. That's what I'm saying.
Like, that was 47 minutes that card was given, and we didn't score our second try till 56.
Yeah. So
and
I do think though that was a part of that is obviously, you know, not playing too well, but part of it is that we got up into the red zone quite a few times, both in the first and second halves, and then made stupid mistakes. Either we didn't protect the ball well enough, and I think that the coach erred in his back row selection this week. It was unbalanced because the way that it was balanced last week with Van der Flyer on, I think it was unbalanced this week because I don't think Murphy's an out and out seven. And I mean, we're playing a Cardiff Blues team that have, you know, nominally the best seven in the
lots
Northern
of
Hemisphere.
sevens.
And at number 8 they had Navidi as well, who's an absolute specialist in that position as well. And we got blown out of it at the breakdown. I think we were very unbalanced. And I don't think it's any fluke that we started to play better once some changes came in and the team started to move a bit better.
Well, like I was saying, the reason that you know, they had on paper a better side out than us. They had 3 lines in the front row, as I said, and Sam Warburton, Lions captain. They had, you know, it just looked, we had a lot of Cuthbert is a Lions guy as well. You know, we had a lot of guys out there who were not first choice. We rested a couple of guys, and we had Heaslip missing, and all the obvious ones that we've been missing all season. But you know, we're going away to Cardiff. We're playing them on their own artificial pitch that they're well used to, and you know,
it was definitely banana skin for us.
We came out with a result, and we got the 4th try. You know, the second try we kind of waited till we outmaneuvered them. We didn't panic and just start, as Eddie O'Sullivan would say, running out with our hair on fire. We kept it, and we did it by numbers.
But
so
that was
by
just,
the time Goppert got in,
it looked like it was fatigue, though. You know, like they had
exactly.
been down.
But that's what you do. That's
It is,
part of
but-
the game. That's
but
part of the tactical approach.
It is,
to the game.
it is, Dave. But like, you know, it's grand it'll work out in a match on Saturday against Cardiff, who aren't the world beaters.
And Welsh teams aren't the fittest. Cardiff are a very unfit team. Always have been.
Yeah.
But you know, let's face it, we're Leinster. We've won 3 Heineken Cups. We want to be, you know,
but
we
we're
have
not that
higher
team anymore,
We're
Jace.
not. But like, if we want aspirations to get back there, we have to be far more clinical than we were.
I would
on
say,
Saturday.
I agree. We have to be more clinical, and I think that if we had
course.
been a bit more clinical, a bit more precise with what we were doing,
Yeah.
we actually would have gotten that second try a lot earlier because we did have opportunities. There were opportunities there with passes, you know, going to ground, been thrown into touch, you know, stuff like that happened that was irritating.
Why don't we have a look at our tries, because we've obviously the Champions Cup is coming up at the weekend. We want to go through those.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we'll have a look at the first one. We got off to a flyer. I mean, this was after
was a beauty.
minute. It was a great break.
Goppert just saw the gap at the ruck.
Yeah,
And
very good play from McGrath to pick up the loose.
Yeah, he
pick
had a
up
good
the
game.
intercept. I thought he had a very good
I thought he
game.
had a very good game.
I thought actually the halfbacks were very
Yeah.
good.
As long as you don't count goal kicking.
No, but
good play from Noel Reid to cut the angle as well.
Yeah.
I mean, everything about it was good heads up, intelligent play.
He was obviously calling it from a fair bit out, and he ran a lovely line.
You would have spotted that, John, would you?
I would have spotted that, apparently.
You should be a commentator.
I
John.
should be a commentator. you could just see him. You could just see Goppert turn around. So he obviously was called, and he caught him perfect on the line inside him. And you know,
I always think
say
that
what you
Noel
like
Reid
about
looks a bit
Noel
like
Reid.
Russell Tovey, the actor. But anyway, that's
I don't know
another
who that
matter.
is, but
Nice
he
play
looks-
from Goppert. A really nice pick up that they were skinny at the back of the ruck.
Well, one of the guys, I think they showed it on the Sky Comedy. One of the guys drifted. I think it was one of the second rows drifted out, left a huge hole there. Goppert saw it and went.
yeah, it was well taken.
Yeah, it was a nice try.
He ran a nice line outside your man.
I mean,
as well.
you are right. Both the halfbacks played very well. I mean, McGrath again. I mean, it's endless the criticism of his
taking a
pass.
hiding, yeah.
But you know,
What is he? 22?
21.
21. You know, like he's not going to be a finished article.
No. I mean, but you look at his maturity, his way he leads the team around the pitch. I mean, that's what you want from.
He's
a scrum.
always had that too.
Yeah, and I love that from a scrum half. I mean, I've always been, I've always been quite critical of, say, Peter Stringer, because I think that, he is a bit of a one-trick pony. But one thing you wouldn't criticise about Stringer is his ability to boss a pack around the park. I mean, he's brilliant at that. I mean, the guy's like a sat-nav for forwards. He's just... And McGrath has that. He's that ability to move a team around his team around the pitch the way he wants. I mean, the pass will come. It'll come.
Prolonged exposure. I saw somebody saying the other day that he's not going to learn. The guy's 21. He's not going to learn that by just playing games. Well, how else is he going to learn it? Standing there with a machine throwing him
the
balls.
Xbox or something.
But anyway,
the game kind of oscillated between we took an early lead, then they came back. They were leading, I think 13-5 at half time.
Yeah.
Then we kind of slowly worked our way back into it, and Gottfried got his try after 55 minutes. At this stage, I was pulling my hair out, thinking, You know,
I was very frustrated. I was shouting at the
great
telly.
footwork here from Ben Teo, actually,
yeah.
and then a bit
then
of
the Bosch.
Yeah. You got a guy who can do both those things. I mean, we end up going into touch here, but it just shows we're beginning to play with that bit of pace. We're beginning to switch from open to blind.
But also, we didn't panic. We built it rather than just going mad and try. And because you can blow it doing that. I mean,
if you watch the footwork from Teo here, it's really good.
Oh yeah, that was a deadly little step.
Made some good yards there.
Yeah, I think this guy could be
good.
Could be great. Because he hasn't just got the Bosch.
Yeah.
You know, he's got.
If you play State of Origin, you got to be at a very good
absolutely,
standard. You know?
The only problem is learning the new game.
Great play there from Cronin.
Good snaffle, all right.
Yeah.
Again, they didn't panic.
No,
they just kept at it.
Yeah.
And they just let the weight and numbers do it eventually, which is what did it. You know.
Again, Gopper spotting the mismatch, taking advantage of it. I mean, that's
you've got to be able to do it against 13 guys, though. You've got to, with
and Adam Jones,
12 guys and Adam Jones. You've got to be able to.
We're lucky he didn't drop a goal.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Gopper has. Sometimes he plays well, sometimes he plays poorly, but he doesn't play stupid.
Mm-hmm.
And I like you're saying about the All Blacks or New Zealanders, that their basics are always good. And seeing the pitch in front of them is one of those basics as far as game intelligence, I suppose you'd call it.
But it's funny, as you can see the time on the clock there, it's 56 minutes. They're leading. We got this try, and then it was all Leinster for the next, for the next 20 minutes. Yeah. Because it seemed that their heads just went down. Maybe their fatigue started coming in. You mentioned their fitness, I don't know. But certainly they held it together for 55 minutes.
Well, we didn't panic. We just took them apart slowly.
I remember when we were doing Blood, Sweat and Beers, we interviewed Derek Foley, 1F of fame, of legend. And we'd played Cardiff, and we'd said it was Leinster light. And he said, Leinster light against Cardiff unfit. If you remember, that was his comment. Because Cardiff at the time were... and maybe they still are. There was the element of that they were only a 50 or 60 minute team. They didn't have anything else in them.
That's why Gatland takes the Welsh squad away and beats them before every tournament, because he has to, because they're not getting the fitness in the regions. Or so they say. The Ospreys seem to have it, but the
Ospreys are. I think the Ospreys are slightly different. I mean, the Ospreys are the exception to almost every rule in Wales, because
the one true region.
They say it themselves, and they kind of are. They are the only real region there, and they're the only real club team there.
Absolutely.
When we look at McGrath, is it?
Yeah.
Next, yeah. Yeah, as we were saying, he had a good game, and
that was see the way he ducked under those guys. That was just ridiculous. You can't buy that.
I mean, that was the what's his name? The starting out half or scrum half for Cardiff was Travis Noyle.
Yeah,
who's the presumptive favourite to start the Six Nations for Wales.
Yeah,
so it's not like he got shown up by him.
No. I think people are looking for. Because people have been going on about his past for so long, and everybody's just looking at him.
It's a self-fulfilling prophecy, I think, to a certain extent. Yeah.
But the guy is so good around the park. He has so many attributes that to focus on his one failing, even though it is a major part of scrum halfery.
More good play, I think, from Jack Conan. He
nearly made it.
Yeah, smart play. Yeah.
Wasn't selfish.
Yeah. As soon as he went for the reach and saw it wasn't on, he pulled it back in. I thought that was good.
Just like John's T-shirt says, a Leo Cullen quote: "It's not about the individual; it's about the team."
Yeah,
and it sort of epitomises.
John's the man, isn't he?
Yeah.
Really,
he knows everything.
Okay,
we love John.
That was very ironic, lads.
But no, it was good play, and I thought I mean, it's brave.
He did well to get in there as well.
That's brave play.
Bit like Madigan last week.
Yeah.
He got in under two big hefty lads. He has the advantage of being quite close to the ground.
He doesn't start from the same altitude as Madigan does.
Dublin Corporation, you could sue them for building the pavements too close to his arse. But anyway, that's another.
And final try with our bonus point, but again, we left it late.
We did.
It doesn't really matter. We still got the 5 points on the board.
Yeah, again. No panic.
Yeah. Tackles made, but the guy's not back, but he makes possession. More good play here. There's a nice break from Dave Carney. Nice,
lovely bit of an offload there. And McFadden doing his usual muscular carry.
Getting these numbers back in,
Slagging they're slagging McGrath's pass. And what about that one from Renzer?
Well, I said it during the week. I mean, for some fellas, for some people, Redden could take a shit in their chest and they'd rub it in and call it vapor rub. I mean, he can do no wrong.
You've just such lovely images. Every week you come up with something in my head to make a lovely image. Tadhg Furlong had an awful lot to do when he got that ball too, and he did it very well.
He had
a few guys to.
He really does look like a prop.
He certainly does, yeah.
And then she says he looks like you. So I'm not sure what kind of.
I know exactly what she means, and I have the words with her later. I think that she just means
nice
fat.
athletic catch though.
Yeah. Good power as well.
And look, he just made them look silly. Although I think they were possibly losing the will to live at that stage, but even so, that's a hard bit of work he did to get in there.
Well, I mean, losing the will to live, that was their bonus point gone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that's the tackle that they should
that's
be
the ones they should be
gumming to make.
Yeah.
Because just not all that long before that, they'd had Cuthbert down the wing. He'd skied past Dave Kearney, and it's a tackle that Rob Kearney's been accused of in the past of missing, is that one-on-one from the side tackle.
But that's
and
why
he made it.
That's why they're 9th in the league.
Oh yeah.
Like after whatever it is, 13 or 14 rounds of games, the league table doesn't really lie.
I have to say
gone.
though,
the word is Cuthbert's gone to France now next year.
I have to say though, with Anscombe in there, they're getting kind of players, and your man Hammett, they could actually turn into something. Not saying they will, but they could actually turn into something by the end of the season. He has
a job that's harder than what I thought Lamb had at Connacht, because in a similar way, he has to change around an entire club's mindset. Yeah. The culture of rugby in Cardiff, the culture of entitlement in Cardiff rugby, going back
to the 70s.
Going back to the
best
70s.
Team in the world.
Yeah. And they're living in that era. They can't understand losing to Leinster, because in the 70s we were the best team in the world.
Yeah.
It's not the 70s now, boys, and it's not that club anymore. And his biggest challenge is repositioning that club for the reality of today.
But they have an opportunity. Like, Cardiff is a
rugby
mad place. And they have a stadium there that's exactly the right size. There was 7,000 or 8,000 at the match.
Beautiful,
great
surface.
artificial surface in it, right in the centre of town. It should be packed out. And it was a good crowd at the weekend. It's a capital city team. Mm-hmm. It can attract, because it has a history. It can attract big name. It should be able to attract big name players. Mm-hmm. That club should be doing as well as Leinster is, as well as
Well, the Millennium Stadium is the best rugby stadium. Certainly in the Northern Hemisphere. It's the best one I've ever been in, because it's right slap bang. It's not close to the centre of town like the Aviva is. The Millennium Stadium is right slap bang in the middle of Cardiff. Mm-hmm. Cardiff Arms Park is right slap bang in the middle of Cardiff, because obviously it's next door. There's no more ideally positioned rugby ground. I can't think of one in the Pro 12 anyway. Can you? Nope. Been to most of them. Can't think of one. They should, like you say, they should be soaring, and instead they're not. They've been overtaken by Clonetty. They've been overtaken by Ospreys. The Ospreys knocked them into a cocked hat. Their big danger is that the Dragons, because Newport have done quite well, and Newport seems to plough along. They don't win too many games, but they never have any problems getting a crowd or anything like that. If they start getting serious about stuff, I mean, they could overtake Cardiff.
They're not going so well this year. They're doing okay in the Challenge Cup, but
but the thing about them is that it doesn't matter. Newport always get the numbers in.
Oh yeah,
the bums always appear on the seats for Newport, so they get the right team or the right blend of young players and Falatau or whatever.
Well, I have to say that I'm kind of glad that we're finished with Cardiff for the season, because there is an outside chance they'll pull something together and put a run for the top 6 together before the end of the season. Not saying they'll get there, and I'm not, but they are shaping up, and they do have players coming into the team if they can. If your man can just get the mindset.
But the thing is, he is a good coach, and McIntosh is a good coach as well.
Yeah. Well, they're 19 points behind us at the moment, so
I'm not saying we should worry about them.
And they're not a danger to us because we played them twice now, but they might be a danger to somebody else.
Exactly, they might just knock over somebody like the Ospreys. Actually, the Ospreys are away to them late in the season. They might just do us a favour there. You never know.
Well, just quickly, rattle through some of the other results. Connacht went down narrowly to Edinburgh. A game they should have won, but the conditions were horrendous.
After 3 big Interpros, they just didn't have enough in the tank.
Yeah, conditions were dreadful though. I mean,
conditions were muck.
It turned.
They just didn't have a big enough lead.
If that game had been played on a slightly less windy day or a slightly drier day, Connacht would have won.
Yeah. And if Edinburgh hadn't got in for a try at the beginning.
But Edinburgh are, like I said before, they're exactly like Ulster were under Solomons. They could be good and they can be dreadful. And they were relatively good
good
against Connacht.
We mentioned Ulster there. They had
A shock.
well,
Ours
I mean,
was
24-0 up at before half time.
Yeah.
Let them back into within 4 points of it at the end.
If people are criticising our game, Ulster's game was just dreadful. Their discipline fell apart. Everything fell apart on them after they got to 3 tries and they relaxed. Never mind, if they got to 4 tries and relaxed, I'd nearly let them away.
But like, what about taking? Like, they turned down an opportunity. They went for their 4th try, but they turned down opportunities to take their points. Like my mindset.
I was with them on that.
My mindset would be: you win the game first, then you look after your
Try for
bonus
show,
points.
put for dough.
Well, my reading of it was they were 4 points ahead, so they weren't vulnerable to a late drop goal. Right? Yes, they were vulnerable to a try, and they nearly let one in. The guy knocked down near the end; he would have been clean through. But you got to go for the 4th try
That's
away
why I
in
was so
Italy.
worked with Owen Redden taking that quick penalty. I mean,
I agreed with that too, actually. But
taking that kick would have put us 7 points ahead, which would have meant that even a converted try would have been the draw was the worst.
Yeah, I think when
it's exactly the same.
When you
Sorry.
go ahead though of the other team, like and they're chasing the game. Then if they have to score that try, they'll take chances, they'll take risks, and as a result, you might capitalise on their. They mightn't be as tight in defence, and so the gaps will appear. Whereas if it's still a nip and tuck game, it's everything to play for. But I think you have to take your points.
Yeah, if you don't keep pushing along, and widening the gap, you are in effect taking your foot off the throat, and it gives them a breath, and with breath comes hope. I mean, if Ulster went from 24 to whatever what was their score at that time? It was 24-20.
Yeah,
if they went to 27-20. They might have gotten another try after that because they would have been beaten.
Guarantee they would have, because Treviso would have been even trying to
because you have to take
back.
the mindset of the opposition you're playing into consideration as well. And we played Treviso and we've seen they can be strong, but all it takes is one thing to.
But you look
they did it to
look
them.
at the All Blacks. I mean, the All Blacks. Do you think the All Blacks would have gone for the line there? I know there's no bonus points in Autumn International, whatever, but no way they would have gone. They would have gone taking their points.
All Blacks win matches. That's all they care about. Win, and then they worry about how much.
Yeah. Another game, Munster beats Ebre. No surprise there. I didn't see it either, but it was good to see Keith Earls back. Yeah. He got a bit of a nasty cut in his head, but
he came back after all the tries had been scored. Though I think I don't know he didn't do a huge amount. I don't think
it was good to see him back. I suppose the league table it's narrowed again. Like the two leaders didn't get their bonus points. They both won, but they only got their 4 pointers. Whereas
there's 3 points in it. Like we're 3 points behind. I mean,
I can't believe we're 3 points off the lead.
Yeah, but that's kind of the way. I mean, obviously it's not happening with the style we want, or it's not happening with in terms of the play we want. But our climb up the table and the position and our distance up from top, this league season is going exactly the way we wanted in a way.
Pretty much.
And the thing is, we've done it without really showing our hand yet. I mean, whether we have a hand to show, I don't know. But
by look more than judgment, Dave.
Our team is going to get better because we've got players coming back.
Exactly.
We've got to where we are without having to draw on the big guns.
Well, one big gun who's actually out now for a month is Zane Kirshner, who's out with a broken shin.
Fractured
shin,
yeah, he thought it was bone bruising, but it turns out it's a fracture.
And another bit of news: Joe Schmidt said he wouldn't stand in the way of any appeal that Leinster have of Jack McGrath's 3-week ban.
Well, they'll need to have made it by tomorrow, isn't it?
Yeah, it has to be in by tomorrow. Joe Schmidt said he won't stand in the way. However, David Nucifora is not moving.
Yeah, that's quite possible. If I was Joe Schmidt or David Nucifora, I'd be thinking.
Oh well, I mean, if
Jack McGrath needs a rest.
If you wouldn't, if you were the national coach or the director of rugby, would you let Leinster appeal with the possibility that they could miss an international match?
Don't think so.
No,
not when you have your
number one
loose head
and your joint number 2 in Kilcoyne.
Yeah.
Also in a bit of a gicker as well. So
Cronin is only just coming back. He only just had off the bench game against.
Joe Schmidt said he mightn't stand in the way, but David Nucifora is standing there with a big
pitchfork.
clipboard and a velvet rope saying you're not getting in.
A pitchfork and a torch, a burning torch.
Well, moving ahead with the Champions Cup at the weekend, 16,500 tickets sold for a game against Cast. We've a pretty good record against them. We've won 4 of our last 5 games against them. They're second last in the top 14. Yeah.
Keep talking.
You got to think that we need a bonus point victory in this game.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I mean, Cast have a big problem. And it's a problem that's going to face that more and more clubs in England and France are going to face. And the problem is, can Castres afford to stay up in the top division, in the top 14? Their sugar daddy is dead. The money has stopped. They brought in Sivivatu, who's going to be out the door at the end of the season.
Coaches are out the door.
Coaches are out the door at the end of the season.
Sacked, yeah.
I can see like the likes of Lamarat and Diarra and a whole load of guys been poached. Gray,
Rory
Cockett going as well. The question for them isn't their survival in top 14. Their question for them is their survival as a professional club.
It's amazing how quickly they've fallen. 3 seasons ago, they won it. 2 seasons ago, they were in the final.
Yeah, these things. I mean, that's the thing with you go down, you follow Babylon. Babylon falls.
Well, all of that is hopefully going to play into our hands.
Yeah.
I'd be fairly hopeful, obviously, that we can do them some damage. I'd say it's going to be very important to go at them straight away, to leave them in absolutely no doubt that they're getting a full hiding from the start. If we go in any complacency, I know they're in a shit place and all that, but if we go in there with kind of, this game's going to win itself, even 1% of that, we're toast. If we go in and batter them from the off,
they're losing.
And they know that every time they turn around, there's another battering coming. They're just going to go, do you know what? Whereas if they get a sniff of something and they go, get in with a try at some stage, they'll fight. They start fighting. It's just natural reaction.
I mean,
their own pride will do it.
A lot of the guys they'll be sending over, they won't be their first choice team.
But that might work against us.
Guys, I know.
Guys making a point.
These are guys who are going to be looking for a career. If Castres do get relegated, these are guys who are going to be looking for a club next season.
Yeah.
No better stage to do your thing on, like we were saying about Cardiff or about Ulster and Treviso, put our foot on their throat and keep it there.
Yep.
Don't let it off, even for an instant. Even if it just means in the first half, just build penalty after penalty after penalty. Just keep them moving, and then the second half, you can. Once they're beaten, you can do it. But you just have to go for them from the off.
Yeah, that's it. That's the game plan.
Yeah.
But it's kind of acceptable in French rugby that the away games we don't really care, but we got to put up some sort of performance at home.
Yeah.
Which
so you got to hope that they will do. Now they let themselves down against Wasps in the back-to-backs.
Yeah.
And let Wasps back into this table.
They were actually losing down there, Wasps, I think, and they just came back with 2 late jammy tries. There wasn't a sending off as well.
There was, yeah.
So, the Wasps were lucky enough after losing their first 2 games to come straight back into it.
There will be an acceptable level of loss against Quins, but I don't think that it won't be acceptable for them to just completely roll over. That's not how French rugby works. And the thing is with Castres, and it's happened with them for us in a group involving Wasps in the past, that if they're in the game at half time, the heads will perk up. So that's what. But that's something that's out of our control. What is in our control, obviously, is Saturday.
Yeah.
And the usual. I actually think we should start this now. We should get a little roulette wheel, with numbers 1 through 15, and we should spin a ball. And whichever number drops in, that's the guy who's going to cry off during the warm up. Because we had another one. I'm telling you, if I was an insurance company, I'd be saying we're not going to underwrite the warm up.
It's funny you should say that, because Driscoll was interviewed nearly 24 hours before the Leinster's match on Saturday. He said, "Well, actually, I heard Luke did something in training, so he won't be playing." And he goes, "Oh," and he kind of just shut up.
Mr. Luke wasn't named in the squad anyway. But Tom Denton, I mean, it's
he disappeared, all right.
There's one thing about playing silly buggers with the opposition and trying to use counterintelligence methods and all this kind of stuff, and that's fine. But you don't take the piss. I mean, don't treat supporters like idiots.
Well, if he wins games, he can treat supporters any way he wants. Is my take on it. But
there is an element of that. But I mean, it just gets silly.
If it works, grand. But it's yet to be proved to me that it works. The other game in our group, though, is quite important for our outcome, and there's loads of theories as to which way it should go to favour us. The simple way is for Wasps to win, because that makes everything simple. The complicated way is for Quins to win, and there's pluses and minuses for both.
Well, if Wasps win, then
simple
it comes
is
down
good.
To a winner take all against
simple
Wasps.
is good, exactly. Whereas if Quins win it, even if even if we get a bonus point and they don't, we're still unsure of our fate.
Because there's other variables.
Yeah, and they're, if they get beaten, it's a straight shootout, and it's all nice and simple. So that's my simple is good as far as I'm concerned. But
well, Quins are starting to get a bit of form. They beat Tigers at the weekend. Wasps were beaten, but that
was their first loss in a while.
And they were beaten in sort of odd circumstances. Yeah. Like it was they missed a kick, a goal, and they were beaten by penalty.
Wasps, I mean, when we started, I mean, Wasps, when the European competition started, Wasps had been languishing middle to bottom of the tournament. They're fourth, is it? They're fourth or fifth now. Had made a very strong run. They'd moved to the Rico, got the bounce from that move. So, I mean, the Wasps that we take on in the final game, whether they're in it or not, I don't know. But whatever, it'll be a different Wasps than the Wasps we played in the RDS. And it'll be a different Wasps that Quins will face to the previous encounter, because I mean at the time it was kind of there was an element of a Viva Premiership bum fight about it. Two teams struggling for form down near the bottom middle of the table. Now
they're both coming back.
Yeah. Well,
it just struck me earlier when I was looking through the list of the games that are going to be played, how this competition was billed as every game was going to be an epic, and there's no crap teams in it anymore, so therefore every game was going to matter. And if you just look down through the list of them, outside of Saracens versus Munster,
I don't think our viewers can see the list.
Okay, well, what I mean
our
is,
viewers.
While
our viewer,
he's counting the dog. When I looked through the list, Saracens and Munster is about the only game jumping out.
Go from the top. I mean, Leicester versus
Scarlets both out. Yeah. Saracens versus Munster, we just mentioned.
We'll get to that.
That's a big game. Toulon, Ulster are dead. Yeah. Sharks, Claremont, Sharks are dead. Leinster, Cast are dead. Quins, Wasps, that's a big game, but it's two Premiership teams, and it's the fourth time or third time they played each other this season. Glasgow, Montpellier are dead. Toulouse, Bath is about the only other arguable one. Bath, if they could win in Toulouse, could reignite their thing. Ospreys, Northampton, dead rubber. Racing Metro, Treviso. Yeah, there's one of the teams that missed the cut.
If you missed that was a girlish giggle.
So there you go. There's a list of teams, and Saracens Munster is the only one that really jumps out as being this is a big fixture.
It's a brave new world.
So
Aldous Huxley was right.
So much for every game being a classic. Anyway, that's just an aside. So move.
I mean, you say classic. I mean, it's a lot more new Coke than Coke Classic, isn't it?
Coke Light.
Yeah.
It's
third in the Pro 12 against third in the Aviva Premiership.
Yeah.
I think Saracens beat Munster a couple of seasons ago when they played. And remember they played their song, Right Said Fred song, over the twice the size Munster crowd.
I think that was
that one of the last?
The
last games.
That was Vicarage Road. That kind of made them hated.
Yeah,
more than they
pretty bad. Even for Saracens, that was pretty sad. Trying to drown out the opposing supporters by playing a ball-achingly bad song. But however, they'll probably try it again. Munster have to be not favourites. Have to be underdogs, should be put. Saracens are at home on their artificial pitch where they rarely, if ever, lose. They're not in brilliant form though.
The thing about Saracens is, like you say, they're not in brilliant form.
Could turn them over.
They are actually a good team. Saracens are a good team. They've got lots of good players. They've weaknesses, certainly mental weaknesses, apart from anything, and they certainly have this huge mental problem with Munster.
And Ferdler is not in great form.
No, but they are a good side. Munster are not. I don't care what anyone says. They're not a great side. But what they have, they're the anti-Saracens in terms of their attitude and in terms of their daring do when it comes to big matches like this. They are the anti-Saracens. They're
kryptonite.
Yeah. Well, in terms of biblical, like, Saracens might be Satan and Munster are anti-Satan kind of thing. Munster in Europe are everything that Saracens will never be. Would like to be, but will never be because you can't buy it. It's as simple as that.
Well, I thought similar like that, but like when they hammered Claremont last season in the semi-final of the Heineken Cup,
you would have thought their day was coming.
I thought it was, and then they obviously didn't perform really too well against Toulon in the final, but they were kind of outgunned. But that game against Clermont, I thought, wow, that's a team
That
they're looking really unstoppable.
It was a hiding. Yeah, but then again, I think Clermont had a big hand to play in that game as well. Their famous choking, especially with Brock James, as you know, he's had multiple chokes. So you know, I would say if Munster and Saracens played each other in Alliance Park or Allianz Park, whatever way it's pronounced, if they played each other
Allianz.
10 times,
Aviva.
Aviva. If they played each other 10 times in that, I'd say Saracens would probably win 6 or 7. But you know, it could be one of the 3 or 4 that Munster will win on
And
Saturday.
if those 10 games were in Europe,
Well, there you go.
But there's probably going to be a big chance that there's probably going to half the crowd is going to be for Munster at this game.
but they've been very
Possibly.
careful about the Irish accent.
They have indeed, yeah.
But they've been
Actually,
treating them with suspicion.
I have a friend of mine from Cork, and I showed him that, and he said he lives over in England, so he says he's going to get his son to ring up and get his tickets for him. Who's got an English accent.
No, you should ring up with the biggest bog Irish accent you can manage it. Bigara, bigara. Sure, would you be having a ticket? Gobshite. I mean, this is the kind of stuff. I mean, Saracens don't have a PR problem. They are a PR problem.
Yeah.
Premiership rugby problem.
They open their mouth to change feet.
They're a stain on the game. So they're like they're like the underpants of a 12-year-old boy in a porn magazine. That's what they are. They're just a stain.
Not another one. My poor brain.
You're the one who has to take these visions with me. I don't have the attention span.
Anyway, moving on. So another game is Ulster against Toulon. A bit of bad news for Ulster. Luke Marshall has his 5th concussion in 2 years.
Worrying.
Also, their second row is out for the Six Nations TUI.
Yeah, heard that too.
Which is unfortunate for him because he got injured in last year's. Was it against Wales? After only a few minutes, he had to come off.
He's a guy who's very unfortunate with injuries. Fortunately for him, unlike Marshall, they all seem to be of the bone and flesh type. Marshall, 5th concussion.
You'd have to seriously question now.
He's going to have to take a long, hard look at his career.
Yeah.
I mean, it's as simple as that.
Well, like, one thing now, you mentioned Saracens and the Antichrist and so on. Like, they actually came out during the week with this, or a couple of weeks ago, with a little device that the players had behind their ears to measure their knocks on the head. Okay. Like, but one thing that I thought was actually decent of them, what they said was, well, you know, we do want to have a, you know, we're concerned about our players' future health in 20 years' time down the road.
They might sue us.
Well, possibly so, if you're that cynical. But they did actually were the first club within European rugby to wear these devices.
Allianz Park. What are Allianz? Are they an insurance company?
And the thing about it, I mean, whatever. I don't know the technology behind it, so I'm not gonna comment on it. But if Saracens are involved in it, you can be sure it's a stunt. I mean, you could probably get away with wearing it. If Saracens are involved, it's probably about as much use as sticking a plaster behind your ear. But anyway, concussion is a serious issue for Luke Marshall. What age is Luke Marshall at this stage? Is he 24?
Well, he played in the opening of the Aviva Stadium when it was for under 20s. So it was 4 years ago. 5 years ago.
So we'd say he's 24. Yeah. 24, 25. I mean, it's very young to have that many concussions and, you know, seem to be occurring within a reg. He's going to have to look. He's going to have to.
Is he prone? Well, this one was in training.
Yeah, is he prone? Is it the way he plays the game? Does he have to change the way he plays the game? You know, I don't know.
Put his head where others wouldn't put their boot.
I'd just be very worried about the guy. But I'd hate to see a talent like that because I mean he was one of the most electric things we've seen in the last 10 years in Irish rugby.
He was brilliant. Yeah. The talk was, you know, Gordon Darcy was finished for the how many 95th time?
Yeah, he was the 95th new Gordon Darcy.
Exactly. So you know that's how high he went.
Yeah.
Before he started getting injury. However, the game itself, as we already said, is a bit of a dead rubber. Toulon are at home. You can't see them losing it. Ulster, you can't see them sending much of a team. They're going to be focusing on the league. They've a home match against Leicester the following week, which it's a home match, so they can't not show up for that. So you know they'll keep all their players, their decent players for that, and I don't think they'll send the under 10s. But anybody who even has a slight tweak will be spared a trip to Toulon. You would have to think.
I think the European Cup is to Ulster as the British and Irish Cup is to Leinster.
At this stage, yeah, for this season. But you know, you can't. As I said, your home form, especially against Leicester, who were.
But they must be just praying for Les Kiss to come back to them.
Of course,
because like they were flying so high with when he was there, and then once Stokes taken over. And I'm not saying it's down to Doug having a clue, but it is.
Well, that brings me on.
I think that one of the Les Kiss was obviously making a silk purse out of a bit of a souse here. I think that I said it before, that team needs to be rebuilt. I mean, there's new guys coming in, but I think it needs to be reshaped.
Well, they've lost a lot of players in the last couple of seasons,
and I think they need to lose a few more.
That brings me on to something that Matt O'Connor said, and I think he was slated for it, saying that he didn't listen to criticism from outside the environment, and people saw that as being a big arrogance thing, which, to be honest, I don't. Something that Raj said a few days later, unrelated, was about, you don't, unless you see guys in training, like the example he used was, some guys might only have to expose a weak shoulder once every 3 weeks in a game, but if you see them every day in training, you're seeing, all of these things exposed in every drill, or you know exactly what you have. Whereas we're looking from the outside, we're looking through a glass darkly. We're just trying to make guesses based on what we see on a Saturday afternoon. So when Matt O'Connor says something like, I don't take criticism, or I don't listen to criticism from outside the environment, fair enough, because the people in the environment are seeing training every day. They know the players, but they can make a judgment on it. Whereas with the best will in the world, unless we're going to turn up to UCD every day and have a chat with the lads, and we're just not in a position to criticise even ex-players like Shaggy or whoever, who are not, they'll be a lot closer to things. I'm sure they've still got friends in the squad. I'm sure that friends talk to them on an off the record level. I'm sure they know a lot of stuff that they wouldn't say in the media, but even those guys can't really make an informed judgment.
Yeah, I mean,
so
from the highest commentator down to the lowliest blogger, it's all just informed guesses. The only difference is the depth of the information that's available. I think people would are pretty much scanning Matt O'Connor's every utterance to look for things to criticise him over.
Exactly. And if you,
because I know that Checkett couldn't give a shit about what any of us thought about anything, and I don't think Joe Schmidt was all that different, to be honest.
Well, I hope Matt O'Connor isn't either, although he shows signs that he gets a little bit ruffled by criticism. But if you believe the good stuff, you've got to believe the bad stuff. So the best advice is believe none of it.
Remember we were in Lansdowne actually, and Checkett gave that speech about people saying a lot of things about us, and he says, I don't pay any attention to it because I know I've got my team and I've got my supporters, and that's all that matters to me. And that was Checkett's attitude, and that was probably the politest he's ever been about the whole thing.
It's slightly different though, it was 10 years ago, and there was much smaller expectations, size of the support base, and so on. Now that Leinster's grown exponentially in the last 10 years, 12 years, and it's got to the stage now where you've got all that silverware in the trophy cabinet. Hasn't been open for a couple of seasons, but it is still
last season. Okay. Put 2 trophies into it.
Okay, fair enough. Sorry, I'm only counting the big ones. Sorry, Dave. No, but my point being though that the club itself has just got so big that now people, and also you think about it, like it's in the last 5 years that they've moved to the RDS, that there's been, that the amount of people going through the turnstile has just increased hugely. That now there's a lot of people going in that just expect, I went there 3 years ago and we won. Why isn't this happening right now? And that's what people expect. And when it's not happening, it's the first person that they see. It's like...
No, it's the coach, yeah.
It's a coach. It's like, and it's nothing to do with... They don't see... Like, the coach has to take some responsibility.
Of course.
But it's the players as well. Like, the players are the ones missing the tackles, dropping passes. Now, maybe some people can say they're badly coached and their skills levels have dropped. But that's also their responsibility, too, to improve that. Like, they're always talking about, they set such high standards for themselves. Well, if they have that high standards, then they must live up to those as well.
Yeah.
I mean, Leinster is the classic example, and it's always quoted as the classic example of the player-driven environment. I mean, that's the phrase that's used. That's perfectly valid. I mean, to a certain extent, he is in a... I mean, there's an entertainment element to what he does, to what the business is about. And sometimes, this season, that's not necessarily been fulfilled.
No.
And again, you see, the thing is, we don't see it. I mean, people make criticism of selection A over selection B or selection C over selection D.
And they don't know that
We
X
don't know.
has an
For all-
earache or Y has a,
or
you know.
player B could be acting the bollocks in training, or I mean, the stories that were coming out of the Irish camp last year about a certain Irish international why he wasn't been selected, about his behaviour within the camp. So these things happen in within a camp, that player X mightn't be getting picked, but he might be not getting picked because he's sulking about not getting picked instead of working harder and all this kind of stuff. The kind of stuff that happens in every squad. You know yourself. You played in enough teams. We all played in teams to know that. Some guys take the hump, and the coach doesn't like it when they take the hump.
Well, one thing that we didn't discuss last week, because it actually happened after we filmed this, was JJ Hanrahan's move to the Saints. Surprising?
Yes and no. It's surprising to see anybody go from I suppose especially Munster, who's Munster born and bred. There's a real thing there, the pride and the passion and all that. So on that level, yes, it's surprising, but it's not possibly surprising because he's an ambitious young lad and he sees his future across there. A good coach, Alex King, coaching the backs, and I don't know what he's been told, what he's been whispered in his ear. He's possibly no more likely to get game time over there than he is at home. I don't think he'd be used at 12 over there as much as he might be in Munster, and they're going to rotate him with Marler a little bit, but you've got to think Marler's just signed a new Myler. Did I say Marler?
Yeah.
You've got to. He's just signed a new 2-year contract, so you've got to think they're going to play him for all the big games, unless JJ does something miraculous. And maybe that's it. Maybe JJ's backing himself to do something miraculous.
I think it's
he's a bit of a loss.
I think it's an astonishing loss. I think. I mean, he was the crown jewel of the Munster system. Certainly the most recent one.
He ticked every box. Like, he came from a non-rugby heartland.
Oh, he was everything they want their players to be. So
like he was young. He was ambitious. He
talented.
He played with a lot of
oozed legend. So he did. He absolutely oozed potential legend. And he's fucking good at rugby. I mean, let's not forget about it. I mean, the reason why he's going to Saints is because he's really, really good. I can't understand how. Well, I can. I mean, the guy wants to go. I mean, I've said it before. You can't chain guys up and keep them here.
But there's an awful lot of donkeys playing in their back line.
Yeah.
And I'm sure
all of them from Leinster.
and I'm sure he's sitting there going, how are these guys getting selected ahead of me?
Yeah, possibly.
Like, what do I have to do to get in this team? And,
I suppose if he's looking at Hurley getting selected at 12,
there's worse donkeys than him.
I'm not saying Hurley's a donkey. I'm just saying in
terms
the 12,
of,
in the 12 position where you could possibly see him. I know he sees himself as a 10 more than a 12, but you could Foley. In fact, Foley is probably more likely to have a first and second 5/8 than they are in Northampton. I mean, that's what's baffling
Munster
me a
have
little
used
bit.
that system before. I mean, the problem for Hanrahan is the one guy, whatever about the amount of donkeys, the one guy down there that's not a donkey is Keatley.
No, he's a bloody good player.
And that was the guy in his
interesting
way.
that they announced
Munster.
Keatley's signing on the same day. And also, did you notice that they put out a little feeler in the press? Oh yes, we're looking at this Australian centre or the New Zealand All Black centre.
Oh yeah, Horn.
As kind of a sop, and keep the restless natives a little bit, to keep them happy.
The problem with Rob Horn is he's not from Leinster. He never get onto their back line.
Well, do you notice though that Keatley was always rubbished, and all the Munster fans wanted JJ. Why the hell is this Keatley fella there? Primarily because he wasn't one of their own. Which, love it or hate it, that's we all want one of our own.
Sure, weren't we like that with Brad Thorne?
I could never stand that Rocky Elson fella.
No. And that Issa, my God.
Well, we weren't like that with Mike Ross, our own Redden or Sean Cronin. So but anyway, we've a lot less to be clannish about because we live in a big city.
I think there's an element of you always want. We've seen it in Leinster where people always want the young player, the exciting player, the new talent. They want to see more of that player. And then obviously in Munster, the only player of that ilk they have was JJ, and people wanted to see more of him. And the problem was the guy who ran their team was in his way. I mean, on the pitch, Keatley was in his way, and Keatley's kind of indispensable to Munster. I mean, he's dug him out of a lot of holes over a lot of years, or over the recent years. So, in a way, you can see why he left. On the other hand, I can't see how he was let go from a management perspective.
But like when you see from what he was on to what he's been offered now, I'm sure that his offer from Munster was better. than what he's currently on, but there's a massive gap that they had to make up, and maybe they just didn't have it.
I'd say to me it smacks of he would just want to go, and maybe that it was a rugby reason rather than a. He wanted a change. Not necessarily there was something bad about Munster, but that he wanted a fresh environment. He wanted maybe like Rog himself. He wanted to go away, learn his trade, and then come back.
With his, if you like, record, even though he hadn't played an awful lot of rugby with Munster, he would be well known by coaches throughout Europe. He probably could have got more money elsewhere. Saints is not a club you'd think of going to for an easy paycheck.
No.
It wouldn't be that kind of a club. So, I have no doubt he went for rugby reasons. Maybe he was. He's probably been playing in that Munster setup since he was, a lad. One form or another since he was 16. Maybe he just wants a change. Go away for 2 years, come back the way that Cullen and Jennings did. You never know. I just think. For Munster have had problems with development of players. They've had problems with their academy. Their academy had to be taken over by the IRFU because it was poorly run. They'd gotten it back. They were back in charge of it. They'd begun to throw out players. They produced Zebo, and now they had JJ Hanrahan. He'd been a star of the Irish under-20 team again. Had been nominated for under-20 World Player of the Year. He was as far as I could see, he was the crown jewel of that system of the new Munster Academy. He was the memento vivant of it, and now he's gone.
Yeah.
So there's a psychological. Is it a blow to Munster from a personnel point of view? Yes, in as much as they've lost a very good player. Beyond that, not really. But it might be a blow to the organisation.
It might be a bit of a blow to him because a lot of players go over to England and they go into this sort of wilderness. I'm thinking the Stauntons and the Everetts.
Staunton was rated more highly than O'Gara was when he first broke through. Now, obviously, he didn't have I don't think he had the absolute steely determination and need to succeed that O'Gara had.
That's exactly
O'Gara wasn't determined to succeed. O'Gara needed to succeed.
Yeah.
I don't think Staunton had that, but he was certainly, in terms of ability, he was regarded as the best young player in the country.
Talent, yeah.
And he basically had a journeyman's career.
But there's a lot, like Bob Casey would be another one, that was playing great rugby for London Irish for years and probably deserved to get on the Irish team, but was ignored. But you wonder if that'll happen to Hanrahan if he stays in England. Well,
I think the Casey thing is often. He played very well for London Irish, but look at the guys.
I agree.
He's kept out of the team by like lions.
Yeah.
Whether Hanrahan is or not, is there a shortage enough of players that he won't be? That will Irish coaches either now or in the near to medium future actually need him if he's because they only pick you're only going to get picked out of the UK or out of England if there's no one else, and I don't think that there isn't no one else, if that makes sense.
Madigan,
Jackson
behind Sexton, and that's just right this minute. There's possibly
probably another generation underneath them.
Couple of lads coming through that.
There's Olding, McCluskey, Henshaw.
There's a Gansey load of lads.
Gansey loads of those guys at that level as well.
Yeah, but this is the first time in probably 15 years that there's opportunities now for, I know he wants to play 10, but, if Sexton is there, then he has to kind of be pragmatic and say, well, maybe I can move to 12 short term. But now, like Darcy's pretty much going.
There's a hole
and O'Driscoll is gone. Yep. So the two guys that have been the bed blockers for the last 10 years are gone.
No, it's true. You've got for the first time in ages, you got two spots, and a coach that's not hidebound enough to pick really orthodox players. So if you're a guy who can do something a bit different, like say JJ can, or like Madigan can, or like Olding can, you've got a chance of a cap there because Schmidt. If you fit into what Schmidt wants to do, you get picked. He's not hidebound by the fact you're not an orthodox inside centre or an orthodox outside centre. He'll pick the right guys.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a chance there. I don't know. I like I say, is it a blow for Munster? Organisationally, it's a bigger blow than it is in terms of the team. I think he's probably done the right thing for himself because you'd query where he was going to go there unless he got a guarantee that he was going to play 12 at Munster. There was no way he was going to. He wasn't going to displace Keatley. I didn't see him display. Keatley's not playing badly. Keatley's actually playing very well at the moment. He's hit a peak of form at the moment. So it's really unfortunate for the guy.
Very good, lads. Thanks a million, and thanks a million for watching. Cheers.